between the three-dimensional reality in which humans spend their waking hours and other dimensions. The crack is magic. The crack is unpredictable and certainly not dependable. It comes whenever it wants, and it does whatever it can to move us into deeper knowing and truth. The only approach a sane person can take towards the crack is to surrender to it, as any resistance is futile.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So hopefully that will give your listeners some idea of the crack, because what we found and what I have found in working and playing with elementals for all these years is the more that you are attached to having things your way, the quicker and harder you're going to fall. And anyone who knows the Irish knows they've got a real black sense of humor, and they tend to laugh most at themselves and when things go awry.
Well, you had quite a bit go awry, didn't you, on that first tour, or on that the second tour with your second book?
Oh my God, yes.
I mean,
you see, the whole thing came because, I've been in Ireland 13 times, and I've already led many tours before to Ireland, and I've led tours for over 20 years all over the world, and I thought I was an expert, didn't I? I was an expert in Ireland, I was an expert in leading tours, it was just going to be like having a party. Well, that was my first mistake. And all these poor souls that thought they were going to just come on a vacation, that was their mistake as well, because they did say they wanted to experience the elementals, and they got an experience. But, for people who haven't read the book, there's not much that went like it was supposed to.
Oh, yes.
It was the tour from hell, but funny to say that, because I am an organized person, and I couldn't believe that half of the places that we were supposed to go to had been changed from when I left Canada to when I arrived in Ireland 2 days later. And, half the places we were going to stay had also been changed by the tour company without me knowing. And the guide had one copy of the itinerary. I was given another copy, and then the bus driver had a third copy. And we didn't find out any of that until we met in Ireland the day of the tour starting.
Oh, my. And to top it all off, because you hadn't asked them for a bathroom key in advance, the bathroom was locked on the bus the entire time of the trip.
Absolutely. And that's typical Irish as well.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh, God, yeah. And I mean this for all your Irish listeners, I mean this, really, a great sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
But it is typical that something like that would happen. And yes, there we are, 30 people on a bus and no bathroom. And yet we've got a beautiful bus with a bathroom on it. Instead, we're parking at a gas station and lining up 30 people for one toilet. Or heading into the bushes.
My goodness.
But it turned out that the bus driver actually owned the bus, and it was his new bus, and he didn't want to get it dirty.
Well, that makes sense. I understand that.
Oh, God. And, the thing is that the group, when things started to go wrong, actually we did divide into sort of three groups. One was people who did laugh at it immediately and were starting to see the really ribald humor in everything, right? A second group were looking around for who to blame, me or the tour company or the Leprechauns, but definitely someone was to blame. And then the third group used to start off blaming, but within a few minutes or an hour or so, they'd become converted to humor again. And it is funny that even one of the people who objected the most to everything that was happening, and the only person, in fact, who asked for her money back at the end of the tour, when she heard my new book was coming out, she was emailing me all the time saying, I can hardly wait to read it. I've told everybody about it. It was the most wonderful tour in the world.
Oh, my goodness.
But that was not her experience at the moment.
Right.
But that's very human, Humans love, the stories that humans love to tell are the stories where things went wrong.
Yes. Well, now, one thing I found really fascinating is how brilliant the Leprechauns are. They're almost genius at psychology, and their knowledge is all-encompassing, and their ability to teach in kind of an offhand way is quite amazing. I mean, you must have been startled at some of the lessons that you were taught by Floyd.
Well, one of the things that elementals, or especially leprechauns, like to do is they like to teach you non-attachment. And the stories. Leprechauns really love to have a joke on you. And the stories that you read in fairy tales about if you ever see a leprechaun, you've got to, hold on to it and try to get his name from him. And if you get his name from him, he'll have to take you to his pot of gold. But you mustn't take your eyes off him, because if you do, he'll disappear and you'll end up with nothing. And he'll try to trick you again and again to take your eyes off him, right? So the stories about him being very clever, very wily, and loving to trick you and then laugh at you, this is typical of leprechauns, really. They've really got a mischievous sense of humor.
Well, now, there was a part in the book, too, where Floyd took you to meet some of the elders, the elder spirits. What were those?
Well, just like we have got different spiritual teachers, as you mentioned earlier, like a Buddha or a Christ, and people that we look up to, elementals also are evolving. And so there are very evolved elementals who are the teachers for elementals. And I was taken to 4 of those teachers, heads of the various elements, earth, air, fire, and water, to be taught by them and also assessed by them regarding my commitment to serve the earth. And as you know, I somehow passed the test. But I wasn't just me passing the test. I had to defend all of humanity. And what we've been doing against, not in honoring the earth, yes.
Well, how do you see that changing? We see so much in 3D that is intentionally being done to keep things as they are. It seems like it would almost require a major shift in consciousness or some kind of transformation for us to shift our thinking and grow in unity so that we actually can work
what I'm feeling is happening is that we are moving there, and that a quantum jump is going to happen. For me, we either exist in fear or in love.
Right.
And if we're in fear, we contract and we diminish ourselves and others. Mm-hmm. And if we move into love, we also move into deep trust and deep faith and deep optimism. Mm-hmm. And that is when we expand in consciousness and when we also believe that others are expanding as well. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I am a Pollyanna about this. I really believe that people are awakening to a sense of responsibility more and more on the earth. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And wanting, I believe that the majority of people, by far, want to feel good about themselves, want to feel good that they are contributing something in their life. And that the only drawback is that not everybody, in fact, perhaps only the minority, will sacrifice themselves in order to do that. So there's a bit of a struggle going on, I believe, with most humans currently around what their ego wants, which is a sense of security and safety and, getting everything that the third dimensional world has to offer, and what their soul wants, which is to serve their purpose, which is to do something good for the earth. But gradually, I believe, and I wrote a book about this many years ago called Take Your Soul to Work. And in this book, I actually talked about people becoming soul-infused personalities, where we actually serve spirit, even though we've got a very distinctive personality. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, who's going to argue that the Dalai Lama has a totally different personality than a Mother Teresa, for example?
Right.
And yet they both serve.
Right, right.
So it's not like we have to totally get rid of our personality. Our personality is a perfect tool.
Right.
Just like we're a guy or a girl and, we're a certain height and we've got certain qualities. So it's our personality. It's a perfect tool to serve spirit. There's no accidents here.
Right, right. It's when ego runs amok and becomes attached to its desires that we get lost in the shuffle.
Yes, I think that's it. And it's not until, unfortunately, this seems to be the way children learn, and we are children as far as creators go, that it's not until the pain becomes greater than the pleasure that we start to change. Yeah. And that is what's happened in our world now. We now are moving into more pain than pleasure. Even people who have it all, quotes, have it all. They've got enough money, they've got a good job, they've got a nice car, they're still not happy. That's pain.
Yes.
And that will cause a change.
Yes, yes, and I see that more and more happening. It just seems obvious, if you even scan the daily news, that this is something that's becoming worse. That money and possessions are not going to make you happy. There's no, and more money and more possessions aren't going to make you happy. Different possessions aren't going to make you happy. It's a soul journey. It's a spiritual journey. Excuse me. And that is where true happiness comes, when you learn how to be of service rather than to be one that takes and takes and takes and is self-serving. And we see you can see that we're playing out in the banking industry and the oil industry and the pharmaceutical industry and corporations, and it's just like rape and pillage.
Yeah.